But from now on, that won't matter. I've come to Utah to take a very historic action, to reverse federal overreach and restore the rights of this land to your citizens.
President Trump signing an executive order in Utah fulfilling campaign promises to give the land back to the public. 2 million acres of federal land will now be available for public use. Currently, the federal government owns 96% of the land in 24 states west of the Mississippi River. That's right. Only 4% to the east. Now to discuss, Jillian Melchior, Wall Street Journal editorial page writer, and back with us, Hugo Gurdon. Jillian, you're from out west. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, so I think what's happening here, there's the 1906 Antiquities Act, and it was created to let presidents have the authority if there was looting or if there was destruction of national monuments, to go in and protect them by designating them a monument. But what we saw with President Obama at the last bit of his term, and also with President Clinton before him, is that they misused this act. They misapplied it. And they used it to seize federal control and designate monument land use for a huge amount of land. I mean, we're talking 3.2 million acres. That's bigger than Rhode Island. That's bigger than other eastern seaboard states. And the federal government controls it without local say.
And of course, under President Obama, you couldn't drill on those things. You couldn't do certain things on it. You couldn't use them for commercial purposes. So, you know, you took those out of the equation.
Yeah, you did. And on top of that, I mean, even things like cross-country skiing or being able to access it through roads, this is really restrictive. And under what was done today with the executive order, these stay public lands. You've still got federal protections, you've still got state protections, but they're not being controlled as tightly by non-locals.
Sure. Hugo, some are saying that, though, you know, beneath the surface, this goes back to the never-ending battle over states' rights versus federal encroachment. And, of course, President Obama really believed that the federal government should be in charge and oversee almost every facet of our lives, even on the micro level, the most minute city, town, ordinance, neighborhood, every level possible. And a lot of people voted for states' rights in that election last year, in November of 2016.
Yeah, look, it's absolutely true that the West, an enormous portion of the West, something like half, just under half of the West, is owned by the federal government. And as my colleague has just said, this isn't going to change their control of it, but it is going to give local people access and decision-making. It was very interesting that both the two senators from Utah were there when this proclamation was made. You know, it's not just local farmers wanting to graze on this land. The thing about the monuments in the West in particular, they serve the same purpose as, you know, baby seals do for the animal rights movement. Everyone thinks of them as being these, and they are, a lot of them, very beautiful. And that's been cover for a kind of land grab, which by the Obama administration, by the Clinton administration, as a favor to the green movement. And it's a source of enormous frustration for local people in the West that so much of their land is taken away from them in terms of its actual use.
I do want to branch out, though, into the idea of states' rights, because I think this is going to come up a lot, particularly over the next 3 years, once President Trump gets over his economic agenda and starts focusing on other things. And I think we're going to see a real knockdown, drag-out fight on these issues. Yeah,
I think it comes up a lot with environmental things. And the left's knee-jerk reaction has been, we want federal control. But every state's a little bit different. I'm from Wyoming. That's different than Utah. Every state has different needs. But locals, or elected officials, are the ones who are best equipped to figure out how to do that.
But isn't it genuinely a red state, blue state thing? Aren't the red states more independent, would like to have more freedom to control almost every aspect of their states, whereas maybe perhaps these blue states, particularly with all the debt they're under, want to walk sort of hand in hand with the federal government?
I think that's maybe a temptation that some of them have. Then again, you've got local officials and state officials that want to have their control and their dominion too. That said, I think one of the things that's not been talked about with this executive order today is people are decrying it as an affront to tribal communities, to Native Americans, because these are tribal lands. Under what Trump put forward, they're actually going to have more say in how these lands are used.
Yeah, I think, Hugo, he mentioned that at the beginning of his speech.
Yeah, that's right. This is not taking away those powers. I mean, the point that you made about it being red state, blue state is, I think, an important one. The red states are more conservative, and it's a fundamental aspect of conservative thought, that the decision making is best made at as the most local level possible. People make decisions for what is good for a right around them, and when you transfer that authority and the decision making to the central government, to the federal power, then decisions are not as good. And so this is a sort of conservative versus state control, conservative versus federal control issue, and a states' right issue.
All right, thank you both very much.